Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Harper Bennett, and I'm sitting here with David Carlisle. And David, I want to start with a scenario that I think anyone with a disability or chronic illness knows all too well. Picture this. You're sitting on that crinkly exam table paper, which is already the least dignified sound on earth, and the doctor walks in. But instead of looking at you, they look right past your shoulder to talk to your partner, your parent, or your caregiver. It's like you've suddenly become invisible, or worse, completely incapable of understanding your own body.
Oh, the crinkly paper erasure. It is so real, Harper. As a teacher and a dad to two disabled kids, I've sat on both sides of that dynamic. I've had doctors try to talk completely over my kids, or look at me as if I'm the only translator for a kid who is perfectly capable of communicating their own experience. It's this immediate, reflex-like, presumed incompetence that creeps into medical settings. The assumption is that because a body or a brain operates differently, the person inside it has nothing valid to contribute to their own care.
And that presumption completely poisons the water when it comes to informed consent. People treat consent like it's this binary, all-or-nothing signature you scribble on a clipboard in the waiting room. But in reality, true informed consent is a dynamic, decision-specific process. Just because I might need help navigating a physical space or managing certain administrative tasks doesn't mean I'm relinquishing my right to decide what goes into my veins or onto my chart.
Exactly. Consent isn't a blanket waiver, it's a conversation. I always teach my kids and try to remind myself when my nerves get the best of me to frame the appointment as a collaborative partnership. The doctor might have the medical degree, sure, they know the pathology, but you are the world's leading ultimate authority on your own body. They have the textbook. You have the live data.
I love that distinction. They have the textbook, you have the live data. Because when we don't treat patients as the ultimate experts on their lived experience, we get bad medicine. We get misdiagnoses, missed symptoms, and a complete breakdown of trust. So how do we actually walk into that room and shift that power dynamic before the stethoscope even comes out?
Well, it starts way before you hit the waiting room. As a teacher, I love a good lesson plan, and honestly, medical appointments need them too. One of the most powerful things you can walk in with is what I call a one-page medical resume or a communication profile. Think of it as an executive summary for your body. It lists your primary diagnoses, current medications, but most importantly, how you communicate best and what support actually looks like for you.
A medical resume. That is brilliant, David. Because doctors are notoriously pressed for time, they are often running on this grueling 15-minute per patient schedule. If you hand them a clean, single sheet of paper that says, "Here is how I communicate, here is what I need today, and here are my top 3 concerns," you're making their job easier while simultaneously asserting your agency. It establishes right off the bat that you are organized, active, and in charge of this interaction.
Yes. And you don't have to just hope they respect it. You actually have legal backing here. Under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, you are legally entitled to reasonable accommodations in medical settings. That's not a favor they're doing for you. It's the law. This can mean requesting a double appointment slot for extra time, asking for information in simplified language or visual formats, or ensuring a support person is present.
And let's talk about that support person, because that's a delicate dance. As an occupational therapist, I see this all the time. Caregivers and loved ones want to help, but sometimes their eagerness to support ends up overriding the disabled person's voice. We need to set clear boundaries before we walk through the clinic doors. I tell my clients to have a pre-appointment huddle. Establish the caregiver's role explicitly. Are they there to take notes, to help with physical positioning, or simply to act as a buffer?
That pre-appointment huddle is a game changer. It's the difference between I'm bringing my mom to speak for me and I'm bringing my mom to document what the doctor says so I don't have to stress about remembering it. It keeps the spotlight of autonomy firmly on the patient.
Exactly. The caregiver is the scaffolding, not the building. They are there to facilitate, to make sure the environment works for you, but they should not be taking over the mic.
But what happens when you do all that preparation? You bring your one-pager, you've got your scaffolding in place, and you still hit a wall? What happens when a doctor dismisses your physical symptoms or blames them entirely on your existing disability? There's a term for this in the medical world: diagnostic overshadowing. It's when a clinician attributes new, unrelated physical symptoms to a patient's pre-existing disability or mental health diagnosis, completely missing the actual problem.
Diagnostic overshadowing is incredibly dangerous. I've had friends in wheelchairs who went in with severe abdominal pain, only to be told, "Oh, that's just your spasticity acting up," when in reality, their appendix was about to burst. If you find yourself in a situation where a doctor is refusing to run a test or investigate a symptom, here is your script. You look them in the eye and say, "I want you to document your refusal to run this test and the specific medical reasoning behind that refusal in my official chart before I leave today."
Ooh, that is a powerful line. Document your refusal. Why is that so effective, Harper?
Because the moment a doctor has to put their name next to a formal refusal in a legal medical record, the liability risk skyrockets. It forces them to pause, step out of their cognitive shortcuts, and ask themselves, "Am I absolutely sure this isn't something serious?" It holds them accountable in black and white.
It shifts it from an informal, verbal brush-off to a permanent legal record. Another phrase I like to teach is, if a non-disabled patient presented with these exact same symptoms, what would the standard diagnostic pathway be? It directly, but calmly, calls out the ableist assumption and forces them to apply the same medical standard to you.
That is gold, David. It gently holds up a mirror to their bias. But if those verbal scripts still don't break through, you have to know how to escalate. You do not have to just sit there and take substandard care. Every major hospital has a patient advocate or a patient relations department. Their entire job is to mediate disputes and protect patient rights. If you are being ignored or mistreated, you ask to speak to the patient advocate immediately.
And if the systemic issues run deeper, if there's a clear violation of your civil rights or ADA accommodations, you can file a formal complaint with the US Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights. It's a real tool with actual teeth.
It really is. Navigating these spaces is exhausting, and it shouldn't be the patient's job to educate their doctors. But until the system catches up, arming yourself with these tools is how we protect our health and our dignity. We are the experts on our lives, and our bodies deserve to be heard. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.